Hello boys and girls, I hope you're having a good week. We've only got one more week of school to go before the Christmas holidays, so that's very fun. Now before we go on with part 2 of the Christmas story, I want you to go and see if you can find a blanket or a dressing gown or just something really cozy that you can get yourself all wrapped up in for listening to today's part of the story. So if you were able to listen to last week's video, then you'll know that we are on to the second part of the Christmas story. Hopefully you managed to watch that other video that I was suggesting as well, The Unexpected Christmas, because it's just a great video and it just makes us think about how unique this story is. That means one of a kind, because God sent his son down to earth on a rescue mission to save everybody, and that's a wonderful part of the story that sometimes we forget about. So if you've not managed to watch The Unexpected Christmas, go and watch it because it's just amazing. So Grace has decided that she would like to listen to part 2 of the story as well. And this part of the story starts off in a village or town called Nazareth, and that's where Mary was living at the time, and one of our main characters of the story is a man called Joseph, and Joseph was engaged to be married to Mary. And at this time, the people in charge of the country decided that they wanted to know how many people were living there, and so they called for all the people to go to where they were born so they could all be counted. And this is called a census. And this is something that is still done today. So in Scotland, every so often, we still have a census, but because we've got modern technology, we don't need to go to where we were born. But this is something that Joseph had to do. So Joseph went with his fiancée Mary, who, if you remember, was quite heavily pregnant by this point. So Joseph went with Mary to where he was born, which was a city called Bethlehem. And when they got there, they found that there were so many other people who were also born in Bethlehem who had to go to be counted that there was no spaces left for them at any of the hotels or any of the hostels or any of the inns or just anywhere. There was nowhere left. So the only place that they could go was to a stable. So the walls of the stable might have looked like these. Wooden pieces like you've got in your activity packs. Yeah, like that. So this is the only place that they could go, and it was better than just staying on the streets, so they said yes. And while they were there, Mary had her baby. And the Bible tells us that Mary took her little baby and wrapped him up in some blankets to keep him warm, and then put him into a manger. And that is the big container that all of the animals' straw was kept in. So it would have been quite comfy and cosy for the little baby. So at the same time, there were some shepherds out in a field outside Bethlehem. And these shepherds had a visitor. They were visited by an angel. And just like when the angel visited Mary, this was quite a scary thing and they were all terrified. But the angel told them to not be afraid and told them of the good news that there was a little baby in Bethlehem that they needed to go and find. And the angel told them that the baby had been wrapped up in a cozy blanket and was lying in a manger, just like what Mary had done. And so the shepherds set off to try and find this baby that was lying in a manger, just as the angels had told them. So they might have brought some of their sheep with them as they went off to go and visit this newborn baby. So this is one of the reasons why the Christmas story is so remarkable, because instead of there being a big line of very, very important people all waiting to meet God's Son, there was some shepherds, which was one of the most humbling jobs out of all the jobs that were going at the time. And this reminds us that we don't need to be special. We don't need to be really, really important or really, really smart or really, really clever to come and worship God and to ask God when we're struggling with things. We can come to Him just like the shepherds were one of the first people to be invited to go and visit the brand new baby Jesus. We can go and we can meet Jesus and ask Him for help just by praying to Him whenever we want to, no matter who we are. So, join us next week for part 3 and the last part of the Christmas story. Does that sound good? Yeah.